First contact fumble. The vast expanse of space stretched out before the UES Curiosity, humanity's first deep space exploration vessel. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge, her dark eyes scanning the star-studded void. After months of uneventful travel, the crew was eager for discovery. "Captain, I'm picking up some unusual readings," Lieutenant Raj Patil announced from his station. His fingers danced across the holographic display, bringing up a series of complex graphs and charts. Chen raised an eyebrow. "Unusual how, Lieutenant?" Well, it's like nothing we've ever seen before. The energy signatures are off the charts, and they're coming from a nearby system that wasn't on any of our maps." The captain's interest peaked. This was exactly the kind of anomaly they'd been hoping to find. "Plot a course, Mr. Patil. Let's see what we've stumbled upon." As the Curiosity approached the source of the strange readings, the crew's excitement grew. They'd encountered primitive alien life before, but nothing that could produce energy signatures like these. Whatever awaited them in this uncharted system, it was bound to be extraordinary. The ship dropped out of FTL on the outskirts of a bustling solar system. Gasps of awe echoed across the bridge as the crew took in the sight before them. Dozens of massive structures orbited a blue-green gas giant, each one easily dwarfing the largest space stations humanity had ever built. Ships of various sizes and designs zipped between the structures, their movements precise and coordinated. "My God," Chen whispered. "It's like we've stumbled into rush hour traffic in space." Before anyone could respond, alarms blared across the ship. Red warning. As the Curiosity was pulled into a cavernous docking bay, the crew couldn't help but feel a sense of wonder. Despite the less than warm welcome, they were about to step into a world beyond their wildest dreams. The ship settled onto a landing pad with a gentle thud. Through the viewports, they could see a flurry of activity as aliens of all shapes and sizes rushed about, barely sparing the human vessel a second glance. "Well," Chen said, a hint of wry amusement in her voice, "I guess we've crashed someone's party. Let's go introduce ourselves, shall we?" As the airlock cycled open, the crew of the Curiosity stepped out into a new chapter of human history. Little did they know that their accidental gate crashing was about to turn the Galactic Council upside down, and that humanity's unique perspective would soon have the entire galaxy in stitches. The first thing that struck Chen as she led her team out of the airlock was the sheer scale of everything. The docking bay stretched farther than the eye could see, filled with ships of every imaginable configuration. Some were sleek and predatory, while others looked like floating cities. And everywhere, aliens bustled about their business. "Stay close," Chen murmured to her team, "and try not to stare too much." Of course, that was easier said than done. How could they not stare when faced with such a menagerie of alien life? There were beings that floated on clouds of gas, others that scuttled on multiple legs, and some that seemed to phase in and out of reality itself. As they gawked, a small hovering drone zipped up to them, projecting a holographic arrow. "Follow," it chirped in that same flat, translated voice they'd heard earlier. With no better options, Chen nodded to her crew, and they fell in line behind the drone. It led them through winding corridors and vast chambers, each more impressive than the last. The architecture was a blend of organic curves and impossibly precise geometry, making the humans feel as if they'd stepped into a living work of art. Finally, they arrived at a massive set of doors, easily 100 meters tall. The drone beeped once and vanished, leaving them alone before the imposing entrance. "Well," Lieutenant Patil said, breaking the awed silence, "I guess we knock." Before anyone could respond, the doors swung open silently, revealing a vast amphitheater beyond. Thousands of alien beings occupied tiered seating that rose into the misty heights of the chamber. At the center was a raised platform where a dozen particularly grand-looking aliens sat in ornate chairs, and every single eye stalk, sensory appendage, and optical implant was now fixed squarely on the humans. "Come forward," boomed a voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. "Let the council gaze upon the interlopers who dare to interrupt our most sacred proceedings." Chen swallowed hard but steeled herself. This was no time to show weakness. With a gesture to her crew, she strode forward, head held high. As they approached the central platform, murmurs rippled through the assembled aliens. Chen caught snatches of translated conversation from hidden speakers. What manner of beings are these? Such inefficient locomotion. Are those load-bearing exoskeletons? How do they maintain homeostasis with such limited surface area? Chen bit back a grin. For all their advanced technology, these aliens seemed just as curious about humans as humans were about them. They reached the base of the platform, and Chen looked up at the assembled counselors. Each was as alien as the last. One seemed to be made entirely of crystalline structures, while another was a swirling vortex of energy contained within a translucent shell. The avian alien they'd seen earlier, Kreecha, leaned forward, peering down at them with bright, inquisitive eyes. "Well now," it trilled, "what do we have here? Speak, little mammals. Explain your presence before the Galactic Council." Chen took a deep breath. This was it. Her words would be humanity's first official statement to an advanced alien civilization. She opened her mouth, ready to deliver a carefully diplomatic response, and sneezed. The sound echoed through the vast chamber, causing several nearby aliens to recoil in shock. One gelatinous being actually quivered so violently that it split into two separate entities. "Oh God, I'm so sorry," Chen said, mortified. "It must be all the new smells and Q." This time, the sneeze was accompanied by a small static discharge, a quirk of the ship's artificial gravity interacting with the station's atmosphere. A tiny spark leaped from Chen's nose to the platform, causing the crystalline alien to light up like a Christmas tree for a brief moment. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of alarmed sounds. Some aliens ducked for cover, while others extended previously hidden defense mechanisms. The counselors huddled together, shouting over each other in a babble of alien languages. "Biological attack. They're trying to contaminate us all. Sound the quarantine alarms." Chen looked helplessly at her crew, who seemed torn between laughter and horror. This was rapidly spinning out of control, and she had to do something fast. "Please," she shouted, her voice cutting through the din. "It's just a sneeze. It's a normal human reflex when our nasal passages are irritated. I promise we're not attacking anyone." The commotion gradually died down, and the aliens turned their attention back to the humans. Kreecha, who had remained remarkably composed throughout the ordeal, cocked its head to one side. "A sneeze, you say? And this is a common occurrence for your species?" Chen nodded, relieved that at least one of them was willing to listen. "Yes, it's completely harmless. Just a way for our bodies to expel irritants." A tentacled being to Kreecha's left waved an appendage dismissively. "Preposterous. No sensible species would evolve such a chaotic defense mechanism. Clearly, these creatures are too primitive to be of any concern. I move that we eject them from Council space immediately and scrub all records of this encounter." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber, but Chen wasn't about to let humanity be dismissed so easily. "Now wait just a minute," she said, her voice firm. "We may not have your level of technology, but we're not some backward species you can just sweep under the rug. We've developed faster than light travel, we've colonized multiple worlds in our home system, and we've done it all without any outside help or guidance." This caused another stir among the assembled aliens. A being that looked like a sentient cloud of fireflies buzzed excitedly. "Impossible. No species achieves FTL without Council oversight. The risks of contamination and temporal distortion are too great." "Well, we did," Lieutenant Patel chimed in, unable to keep quiet any longer. "Turns out if you smash particles together hard enough and run the output through a Mobius strip of exotic matter, you can punch a hole through space-time. Who knew?" The casual way Paddle described what had been humanity's greatest scientific achievement seemed to short-circuit several of the alien delegates. The crystalline being actually cracked slightly, a small fissure appearing in its otherwise perfect surface. Kreacha leaned in, its eyes glittering with curiosity. Fascinating. And you say you've colonized multiple worlds. How do you manage the logistical challenges of maintaining a multi-planet civilization without access to Council infrastructure? Chen shrugged. We muddle through. Lots of hard work, a fair bit of improvisation, and a healthy dose of stubbornness. It's kind of our thing. This set off another round of excited chatter among the aliens. The humans exchanged glances, realizing that their very existence seemed to be challenging some fundamental assumptions of this Galactic Council. Suddenly, a new voice cut through the noise. The shimmering, multi-eyed being they'd first encountered. Zixtik floated forward, its form rippling with agitation. Esteemed counselors, I must protest. These humans, if that is indeed what they are, appeared in restricted space without warning. They claim to be from a planet that doesn't exist in our records. And now they spout nonsense about independent FTL development and unsanctioned colonization efforts. Clearly, they are either delusional or part of some elaborate deception. I demand they be detained and thoroughly investigated. Chen felt her patience wearing thin. This pompous blob had been nothing but hostile since the moment they'd arrived, and she'd had about enough. Now listen here, you overgrown mood ring, she snapped, causing Zixtik to recoil in shock. We didn't ask to be dragged into your little clubhouse meeting. We were out there exploring the galaxy, minding our own business, when you lot decided to play space traffic cops. If anyone should be upset about unauthorized entries, it's us. The chamber fell silent, every alien staring at Chen in disbelief. Even her own crew looked nervous, unsure how the Council would react to such blatant disrespect. But then, something unexpected happened. Kreacha, the avian alien who'd shown the most interest in the humans, began to make a strange trilling sound. It took Chen a moment to realize that the alien was laughing. Oh, by the 7 moons of Xylox, Kreacha wheezed, its beak clicking in amusement. I haven't been spoken to like that in 3 galactic standard cycles. How wonderfully refreshing. Other members of the Council began to join in, their alien laughter creating a bizarre symphony of chirps, rumbles, and electronic buzzes. Even Zixtik, after a moment of indignant quivering, began to pulsate in what might have been its species' version of a chuckle. As the laughter died down, Kreacha turned to address the rest of the Council. My esteemed colleagues, I believe we've been presented with a unique opportunity. These humans, with their independent development and unconventional approach to diplomacy, offer us a fresh perspective that we've sorely needed. The crystalline being chimed in, its voice like tinkling glass. Agreed. Their existence challenges many of our long-held beliefs about galactic development. We would be fools to dismiss them out of hand. One by one, the other counselors voiced their agreement. Even Zixtik, still slightly miffed, conceded that the humans warranted further study. Kreacha turned back to Chen and her crew, spreading its wings in a gesture that seemed both welcoming and slightly theatrical. Captain Chen of Earth, on behalf of the Galactic Council, I extend an official invitation for your species to join our August assembly. As probationary members, of course. Chen blinked, taken aback by the sudden turn of events. Wow, that's quite an offer. But I'm just the captain of an exploratory vessel. I don't have the authority to commit my entire species to joining your council. This caused another ripple of laughter through the chamber. The tentacled being who had earlier dismissed them now waved its appendages in what might have been applause. You mean to tell us that you achieved faster-than-light travel, embarked on a mission of galactic exploration, and made first contact with an advanced alien civilization, all without the backing of a unified planetary government? Marvelous. Simply marvelous. Chen rubbed the back of her neck, feeling a bit sheepish. Well, when you put it like that, it does sound a bit crazy, but that's kind of how we do things on Earth. We're a bunch of different nations, all working together and competing at diplomatic disaster. The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with excitement. News of the humans' unexpected arrival had spread quickly, and now delegates from across the galaxy were clamoring for a closer look at these bizarre newcomers who had achieved so much without Council guidance. Captain Sarah Chen and her crew found themselves at the center of a whirlwind of alien attention. Kreecha, the avian counselor who had taken a shine to the humans, was doing his best to maintain some semblance of order. "Please, esteemed delegates," Kreecha trilled, his feathers ruffling in agitation. "There will be time for all to observe and interact with our new probationary members. But first, we must address the matter at hand, integrating these humans into galactic society." Chen cleared her throat, drawing the attention of the assembled aliens. "I appreciate your enthusiasm, but I think there's been a misunderstanding. We can't just join your council on the spot. We need to report back to Earth, consult with our leaders, and—" She was cut off by a chorus of alien voices, each more bewildered than the last. "Consult with leaders? But aren't you the representative of your species? How inefficient. Decision-making should be instantaneous for a spacefaring race. Perhaps their brains require multiple units to process complex information." Chen pinched the bridge of her nose, feeling a headache coming on. "No, it's not like that. We have multiple governments on Earth, each representing different regions and cultures. Major decisions that affect our entire species need to be discussed and agreed upon by multiple governments," interrupted a gelatinous being, its translucent form rippling with shock. "On a single planet. How do you prevent constant warfare?" "Well," Chen began, "we don't always prevent it, but we've gotten better at resolving conflicts peacefully over time." This sent another wave of murmurs through the crowd. The concept of a species advancing to the stars while still grappling with internal divisions seemed to challenge everything the Council thought they knew about civilization. Kreecha clacked his beak thoughtfully. "Fascinating. It seems we have much to learn from each other. Perhaps a cultural exchange is in order. We could send a delegation to this Earth of yours, and in return, you could leave some of your crew here to observe Council proceedings." Chen exchanged glances with her team. The idea of alien visitors showing up on Earth without warning could cause panic, but the opportunity to learn more about galactic civilization was too good to pass up. "That sounds reasonable," she said cautiously. "But we'll need to prepare our people for your arrival, and I'm not sure how many of my crew would be willing to stay behind in unfamiliar territory." To her surprise, several hands shot up among her team. Lieutenant Puddle grinned. "Are you kidding? The chance to be the first humans to study advanced alien tech up close. Sign me up." "That sounds reasonable," she said cautiously. "But we'll need to prepare our people for your arrival, and I'm not sure how many of my crew would be willing to stay behind in unfamiliar territory." To her surprise, several hands shot up among her team. Lieutenant Puddle grinned. "Are you kidding? The chance to be the first humans to study advanced alien tech up close. Sign me up." Chen couldn't help but smile at her crew's enthusiasm. "All right, it looks like we have some volunteers. But we'll need to establish clear communication protocols and safety measures before." She was interrupted by a loud bang, followed by a series of increasingly bizarre noises. All eyes turned to see Zik-Stick, the shimmering multi-eyed being who had first encountered the humans, engaged in what appeared to be a heated argument with the tentacled counselor. "What's going on?" Chen asked, alarmed by the escalating volume and the way Zik-Stick's form was rapidly cycling through a rainbow of colors. Kreecha sighed, his feathers drooping slightly. "I'm afraid Counselor Zik-Stick and Counselor Gloop are having a disagreement about the proper welcoming ceremony for your species." Chen blinked. "Welcoming ceremony?" "Oh yes," Kreecha explained. "It's a time-honored tradition when inducting a new species into the galactic community. Each member of the council presents a gift or performs a ritual to symbolize acceptance and cooperation." As if on cue, Zik-Stick floated over, its eyes swirling in agitation. "Captain Chen," it burbled, "I must insist that you partake in the ritual of elemental harmony. It is the only proper way to cleanse your species of the chaos of independent development and attune you to the cosmic rhythms of the Council." Before Chen could respond, Gloop's tentacles whipped through the air, narrowly missing several bystanders. "Nonsense," the gelatinous being gurgled. "The ritual of elemental harmony is outdated and potentially harmful to carbon-based life forms. Clearly, the humans must undergo the gelatinous embrace to properly welcome them into the galactic fold." Chen took an instinctive step back, not liking the sound of either option. "I'm sure your rituals are very meaningful," she said diplomatically, "but perhaps we could start with something simpler. A handshake, maybe." This suggestion was met with blank stares from the aliens. "Hand. Shake," Creature repeated, testing the unfamiliar words. "Is this some form of aggressive display?" Chen chuckled, realizing how strange the concept might seem to beings with such diverse physiologies. No, it's a peaceful greeting. Here, let me demonstrate." She held out her hand to Creature, who eyed it warily before extending a wing. Chen gently grasped the feathered appendage and gave it a small shake. "See, simple and friendly." The assembled aliens watched in fascination. Some began attempting to mimic the gesture with their various appendages, resulting in a comical scene of tentacles, claws, and energy tendrils awkwardly bumping against each other. Zixtick, however, was not impressed. "This handshake lacks the spiritual significance required for such a momentous occasion. I really must insist on the ritual of elemental harmony. It will only take a few galactic standard days, and the risk of molecular discorporation is minimal." Chen's eyes widened. "Molecular discorporation? I think we'll pass on that, thanks." Gloop undulated indignantly. "Then surely you'll agree that the gelatinous embrace is the superior option. I assure you, the digestive acids are quite mild." "Digestive acids?" Lieutenant Pothill echoed, looking decidedly less enthusiastic about his stay on the station. Chen held up her hands, trying to calm the increasingly agitated counselors. "Look, we appreciate the thought, but humans are pretty particular about our personal space. How about we skip the rituals for now and focus on cultural exchange? We could share some of our music or art." This suggestion seemed to intrigue the aliens. Creech's head tilted curiously. "Music? You create organized sound for purposes other than long-range communication or echolocation?" "Of course," Chen replied, relieved to be on safer ground. "Music is a huge part of human culture. We use it for entertainment, emotional expression, even spiritual practices." Excited murmurs rippled through the crowd. Even Zixtick and Gloop seemed to forget their argument, drawn in by the prospect of experiencing alien art. "Very well," Creature declared. "Let us convene in the grand auditorium. There you shall present this music of yours, and we shall evaluate its suitability as a substitute for traditional welcome rituals." As the aliens filed out of the chamber, Chen turned to her crew. "All right, people, looks like we're putting on a concert. Any ideas?" The team huddled together, frantically brainstorming. They had to choose something that would showcase the best of human creativity without potentially offending alien sensibilities. No easy task given how little they knew about their audience. Finally, they settled on a plan. They would start with some classical music to demonstrate complexity and emotional range, then move on to more modern styles to show the diversity of human expression. The grand auditorium was a marvel of alien architecture, with acoustic properties that seemed to defy the laws of physics. As Chen's team set up their makeshift sound system, cobbled together from communicators and ship equipment, the vast chamber filled with curious aliens of all shapes and sizes. "Ready?" Chen asked her crew. They nodded, looking nervous but excited. Taking a deep breath, Chen addressed the assembled galactic delegates. "Esteemed members of the Council, we are honored to share with you a small sample of human music. Please understand that what you're about to hear represents just a tiny fraction of the diverse musical traditions of Earth. We hope you enjoyed it." With that, they began their performance. The hauntingly beautiful strains of Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata filled the auditorium, its delicate notes seeming to hang in the air. The aliens listened in rapt attention, some swaying gently, others extending sensory organs Chen hadn't even realized they possessed. Encouraged by the positive response, the humans transitioned to more upbeat classical pieces, then to jazz, showcasing the improvisational skills that had so fascinated the council earlier. By the time they reached modern pop and rock music, the auditorium was alive with alien movement, each species interpreting the rhythms in their own unique way. As the final notes faded away, there was a moment of silence. Then, the chamber erupted in a cacophony of alien sounds, cheers, trills, buzzes, and other expressions of appreciation that the human translators couldn't quite parse. Kreacha approached the humans, his feathers quivering with excitement. "Remarkable. Such variety, such emotion. I believe I speak for the entire council when I say that this music of yours is a more than adequate substitute for our traditional rituals." Chen grinned, feeling a surge of pride in her species' artistic achievements. "We're glad you enjoyed it. Music has a way of bringing people, or, well, sentient beings, together, no matter how different they might seem." Zick Stick, who had been uncharacteristically quiet during the performance, now floated forward. Its many eyes were spinning in complex patterns, and its voice seemed to quaver with emotion. I must apologize, Captain Chen. I had dismissed your species as primitive and chaotic, but this music, it speaks to cosmic harmonies I had thought beyond the grasp of younger races. Perhaps there is more to learn from Earth than I had imagined." Even Gloop, who had been so insistent on the gelatinous embrace, was vibrating at a frequency that the translators interpreted as deep contentment. "Truly, the universe is full of wonders. We would be honored to visit your world and experience more of this music in its native environment." Chen nodded, feeling a mix of relief and excitement. They had managed to turn a potential diplomatic disaster into a moment of genuine connection. "We'd be happy to host you on Earth. But first, I think we need to have a long talk about interstellar protocols, cultural exchange programs, and, well, a whole lot of other things we haven't even thought of yet." Kreacha clacked his beak in agreement. "Indeed, there is much to discuss. But first, a celebration is in order. Let us feast and make merry in honor of our new friends from Earth." As the aliens began to file out of the auditorium, chattering excitedly about the musical performance and the prospects of visiting Earth, Chen turned to her crew. "Well, folks, I'd say that went about as well as we could have hoped. But something tells me our adventure is just beginning." Lieutenant Patil grinned. "You know, Captain, when I signed up for deep space exploration, I never imagined we'd end up as humanity's first interstellar diplomats/rock band." Chen laughed, the absurdity of their situation finally hitting her. "Welcome to the final frontier, Lieutenant. I have a feeling it's going to be one hell of a ride." As they followed the stream of aliens out of the auditorium, ready to face whatever bizarre challenges galactic society might throw at them next, Chen couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. Humanity might be new to the cosmic stage, but they had already made quite an impression. With a mix of ingenuity, adaptability, and a willingness to improvise, they were ready to take their place among the stars, one cultural misunderstanding at a time. Technological tango. The days following the impromptu musical performance were a whirlwind of activity for Captain Sarah Chen and her crew. The Galactic Council, fascinated by these unpredictable humans, had set up a series of technological demonstrations and cultural exchanges. It was meant to be a way for both sides to learn from each other, but it quickly turned into something else entirely. "All right, let's go over this one more time," Chen said, addressing her team in their temporary quarters aboard the massive space station. "We're here to observe and learn, not to show off or cause trouble. Remember, these beings have technology far beyond our." She was interrupted by a commotion in the corridor outside. The door slid open to reveal Kreacha, looking even more ruffled than usual. Captain Chen, the avian alien, trilled, a mix of excitement and concern in its voice. "You must come quickly. There's been an incident in the quantum computation lab." Chen felt a sinking feeling in her stomach. "What kind of incident?" "It's your Lieutenant Patel," Krecha explained as they hurried through the station's winding corridors. "He was observing our latest quantum processing array when he started asking questions. Many, many questions, and then he started making suggestions. They arrived at the lab to find it in a state of controlled chaos. Aliens of various species were crowded around a central console, arguing in a cacophony of translated voices. At the center of it all stood Lieutenant Raj Patel, looking both excited and slightly sheepish. "Captain," Patel called out when he saw Chen, "you're not going to believe this. They're quantum computers. They're amazing, but they're missing something so simple." Chen approached cautiously, noting the mix of irritation and intrigue on the faces, or equivalent sensory organs, of the alien scientists. "Lieutenant, what did you do?" Patel's eyes gleamed with the fervor of scientific discovery. "It's brilliant, really. They'd been using quantum entanglement for computation, but they've been limiting themselves to binary systems. I just suggested they try a trinary approach, using the spin states off." "He reconfigured our entire system," interrupted a crystalline being, its facets flashing with agitation. "Centuries of established quantum theory, and this novice comes in and turns it all on its head." "But it works, doesn't it?" Patel countered. "Your processing speed has increased by at least an order of magnitude." The alien scientists exchanged glances, a reluctant murmur of agreement rippling through the group. Chen closed her eyes, taking a deep breath. When she opened them, she fixed Patel with a stern look. "Lieutenant, what part of observe and learn was unclear?" Patel had the grace to look embarrassed. "I'm sorry, Captain. It's just, once I saw how their system worked, the solution was so obvious. I couldn't help myself." Krecha, who had been watching the exchange with fascination, stepped forward. "Captain Chen, while your crewman's actions were unorthodox, I must say the results are impressive. Perhaps this incident demonstrates the value of fresh perspectives." Chen nodded slowly, realizing they might be able to salvage the situation. "You're right, Counselor. Humanity's strength often lies in our ability to think outside the box, to challenge established norms. If we overstepped, we apologize, but we're also eager to collaborate and share ideas." This seemed to mollify the alien scientists somewhat. The crystalline being's agitation subsided, its facets now glowing with a softer light. Perhaps we were too hasty in our judgment. The human's approach, while unorthodox, does show promise." As the tension in the room began to dissipate, replaced by excited scientific discussions, Chen pulled Patel aside. "Good save, Lieutenant, but try to be more diplomatic in the future. We're guests here, remember." Patel nodded, still looking excited despite the reprimand. "Understood, Captain. But just wait until you see what I've figured out about their FTL drives." Chen groaned inwardly, realizing this was likely to be just the first of many such incidents. Over the next few days, similar scenes played out across the station. The humans, with their unique perspectives and willingness to challenge assumptions, began to leave their mark on various aspects of galactic technology. In the medical bay, Dr. Emily Wong, the Curiosity's chief medical officer, caused a stir by suggesting a novel approach to xenobiology. "Have you considered using adaptive nanobots for interspecies medicine?" she asked a group of alien doctors. They could reconfigure themselves to match the biology of any patient, regardless of species. The idea sent ripples of excitement and controversy through the medical community. Some embraced the concept enthusiastically, while others insisted it was too risky, too untested. But all agreed it was an approach they hadn't considered before. Meanwhile, in the engineering section, Chief Engineer Marcus Johnson found himself embroiled in a heated debate about spacecraft design. The aliens have been using sleek, streamlined ships designed for efficiency in both space and atmosphere. Johnson, with his practical human mindset, suggested a more modular approach. "Look," he said, sketching out a design on a holographic display. "If you build your ships in interconnected segments, you can easily swap out sections for different missions. Need more cargo space? Attach a freight module. Going into combat? Snap on some extra weapon pods." It's all about flexibility. The alien engineers were skeptical at first, but as Johnson elaborated on his ideas, they began to see the potential. Soon, they were excitedly discussing ways to implement and improve upon the concept. Even in areas where the aliens were far ahead of humanity, the humans found ways to contribute. When shown the station's incredible faster-than-light communication system, Communications Officer Lai Wei didn't try to improve the technology itself. Instead, she focused on the user interface. "Your system is amazing," she told the alien technicians, "but the controls are so complicated. What if we simplified it? Make it more intuitive, so anyone can use it without years of training." The aliens were puzzled at first. Why focus on making it easier to use when they could just train people better? But as Wei demonstrated her ideas, creating a mock-up of a streamlined interface, they began to see the value in accessibility. As word of these incidents spread through the station, the humans found themselves becoming minor celebrities. Aliens would stop them in corridors, eager to ask questions or propose collaborative projects. The initial wariness had given way to a genuine enthusiasm for the new ideas these newcomers brought. But not everyone was thrilled with the changing dynamics. Zixtik, the shimmering multi-eyed being who had been skeptical of the humans from the start, called for an emergency council session. "Esteemed colleagues," Zixtik addressed the assembled counselors, its form rippling with agitation, "I must express my deep concern about the influence these humans are having on our society. In just a few short days, they have disrupted centuries of established protocols and procedures." Kreecha, who had become something of an advocate for the humans, ruffled his feathers dismissively. "Disrupted or improved? The innovations they've suggested have already shown great promise. But at what cost?" Zixtik countered. "Our ways have served us well for eons. These humans, with their chaotic approach and disregard for tradition, threaten the very foundations of galactic stability." The chamber buzzed with murmurs as the counselors debated among themselves. Some sided with Zixtik, worried about the rapid changes. Others, intrigued by the possibilities the humans represented, argued for greater integration. In the midst of this debate, Captain Chen and her senior staff were summoned to address the council. As they entered the vast chamber, Chen could feel the weight of countless alien gazes upon them. Kreecha, acting as a mediator, explained the situation. "Captain Chen, your crew's actions have caused quite a stir among our people. While many are excited by the new ideas you've brought, others are concerned about the disruption to our established ways. How do you respond to these concerns?" Chen took a moment to gather her thoughts, acutely aware that her words could shape the future of human-alien relations. She stepped forward, her voice clear and confident as she addressed the council. "Esteemed counselors, I understand your concerns. Humanity is new to the galactic stage, and our ways must seem strange and unpredictable to you. But I ask you to consider this. The universe is vast and full of wonders we have yet to discover. No single species, no matter how advanced, can claim to have all the answers." She paused, looking around the chamber to make sure she had their attention. "What humanity offers is not chaos, but adaptability. We question, we challenge, not out of disrespect, but out of a deep-seated desire to understand and improve. Our history is filled with moments where breaking from tradition led to our greatest advancements. Yes, we may disrupt your established ways," Chen continued, "but isn't that disruption also an opportunity and chance to see things from a new perspective, to combine your vast knowledge with our fresh ideas? Together, We could push the boundaries of what's possible in ways neither of us could achieve alone. The chamber was silent as the aliens considered her words. Even Zixtik, usually so quick to argue, seemed to be deep in thought. Finally, Kreacha spoke. Captain Chen speaks wisely. Perhaps in our long years of stability, we have forgotten the value of change, of seeing things anew. The humans, with all their chaotic energy, offer us a chance to grow, to evolve. Murmurs of agreement began to spread through the council. The tide was turning. Zixtik, its colors swirling in complex patterns, floated forward. I must admit, my initial judgment may have been hasty. While I still have reservations, I cannot deny the potential benefits of this cultural exchange. Perhaps there is a middle ground where we can embrace new ideas while still honoring our traditions. Chen nodded, sensing an opportunity for compromise. We would be honored to work with you to find that balance. Humanity doesn't seek to override your ways, but to complement them, to learn from you as much as we hope you can learn from us. As the Council continued to discuss the implications of humanity's integration into galactic society, Chen turned to her crew. Well done, everyone. I think we've managed to turn this potential disaster into a real opportunity. Patil grinned. So, does this mean I can go back to the quantum lab? I had some ideas about multidimensional data storage that I think they'll love. Chen laughed, shaking her head. Easy there, Lieutenant. Let's not push our luck too far. We've got a long road ahead of us, and we need to navigate it carefully. As they watched the alien counselors debating excitedly among themselves, Chen couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. Humanity had taken its first real steps into the galactic community, and while the journey ahead would undoubtedly be filled with challenges, it was clear that they had something unique to offer. The technological tango between humans and aliens was just beginning, and the universe would never be the same. Crisis and cooperation. The excitement of humanity's introduction to the Galactic Council had barely begun to settle when alarms blared throughout the massive space station. Captain Sarah Chen, who had been in the midst of a cultural exchange session with a group of gelatinous beings, felt her comm device vibrate urgently. Captain Chen to the central command hub immediately came the translated voice of Kreacha, tension evident even through the artificial tones. As Chen rushed through the corridors, she was joined by her senior staff, all wearing expressions of concern. They arrived at the command hub to find it in a state of barely controlled chaos. Aliens of various species hurried from console to console, their movements frantic and uncoordinated. Kreacha spotted the humans and waved them over with a feathered appendage. Captain, we have a serious situation developing. Our long-range sensors have detected a quantum singularity forming in a nearby sector. Lieutenant Patil's eyes widened. A quantum singularity? You mean like a black hole? Similar, but far more unstable, explained a crystalline being manning the complex holographic display. This singularity is fluctuating rapidly, causing severe gravitational distortions. If it's not contained soon, it could tear apart the fabric of space-time in this entire region. Chen felt a chill run down her spine. How did this happen? Is it a natural phenomenon? Kreacha's feathers ruffled in agitation. We're not certain. It's possible it's the result of an experiment gone wrong, or perhaps a weapon test by one of the non-council races. Regardless of its origin, we must act quickly to neutralize the threat. What are our options? Chen asked, her mind already racing through potential solutions. The assembled aliens exchanged uneasy glances. That's part of the problem, Kreacha admitted. Our standard protocols for dealing with spatial anomalies aren't designed for something of this magnitude. We're still debating the best course of action. Chen looked around the room, taking in the scene of confusion and indecision. It was clear that the Council, for all its advanced technology and eons of experience, was struggling to adapt to this unexpected crisis. Maybe we can help, she offered. Humanity might be new to the galactic stage, but we have a knack for thinking outside the box, especially in crisis situations. There was a moment of hesitation among the alien counselors. Zixtik, its form shimmering with anxiety, spoke up. "With all due respect, Captain, this is far beyond anything your species has ever encountered. The risks of interference are greater than the risk of doing nothing." Chen interrupted, her voice firm. "You invited us to join your community. Let us contribute." Kreacha clacked his beak thoughtfully. "The human has a point. Their unorthodox approach might be exactly what we need in this situation." "Very well, Captain Chen. What do you propose?" Chen turned to her team. "All right, people, this is what we trained for. Let's pool our knowledge and come up with a plan. Patel, what do we know about quantum singularities?" The next few minutes were a flurry of ideas and theories. The humans, drawing on their limited but innovative understanding of advanced physics, began to formulate a plan. The aliens listened with a mixture of skepticism and growing interest as the humans bounced ideas off each other, building on each concept with remarkable speed. "Okay, here's what I'm thinking," Chen said finally, addressing the gathered council. "The singularity is unstable, right? Fluctuating between states. What if we could force it to stabilize in a single state long enough to neutralize it?" The crystalline being's facets glowed with intrigue. "Theoretically possible, but the energy requirements would be astronomical. We don't have anything capable of generating that kind of power on short notice." "What about your FTL drives?" Lieutenant Patel suggested. "If we could modify them to create a focused beam of tachyons, we might be able to influence the singularity's quantum state." This set off a new round of excited discussions among the alien scientists. Ideas were proposed, debated, and refined at a dizzying pace. The human suggestion had sparked a collaborative effort unlike anything the Council had seen before. "It could work," Kreacha said finally, "but it's incredibly risky. We'd need to get multiple ships close to the singularity to generate a strong enough field. The gravitational forces could tear them apart." Chen nodded grimly. "Then we'll need the best pilots you have. And if you'll allow it, I'd like to volunteer the Curiosity and her crew to join the mission." This declaration was met with a mix of surprise and admiration from the aliens. Zixtik, who had been quietly observing, floated forward. "You would risk your lives and your only ship to save a region of space that isn't even your home. Why?" Chen's response was immediate and heartfelt. "Because it's the right thing to do. Because we're all in this together now, whether we like it or not. And honestly, because this is the kind of challenge humanity lives for." There was a moment of silence. Then Kreacha spread his wings in a gesture of acceptance. "Very well. Let us prepare for this mission. May the cosmic winds be in our favor." The next few hours were a blur of activity. Ships were prepared, plans were finalized, and crews were briefed. The Council had assembled a small fleet of their most advanced vessels, each equipped with hastily modified FTL drives based on the human suggestions. As Chen stood on the bridge of the Curiosity, preparing to depart, she couldn't help but feel a sense of surreal excitement. Here they were, about to embark on a mission to save a chunk of the galaxy, flying alongside ships that looked like they belonged in science fiction. "All ships report ready, Captain," Lieutenant Patel announced from his station. Chen took a deep breath. "All right, people, this is it. Let's show the galaxy what humanity can do. Engage FTL drives on my mark." As the countdown began, Chen glanced around at her crew. Despite the enormity of the task ahead, she saw determination and even excitement in their eyes. This was why they had joined the Deep Space Exploration Program, to push the boundaries of what was possible, to face the unknown head-on. Mark. The Curiosity, along with the alien fleet, leaped into FTL, streaking towards the crisis point. As they traveled, final adjustments were made to the plan. The human suggestion had evolved into a complex operation involving precisely timed tachyon pulses from multiple ships, all coordinated to stabilize the quantum singularity. When they dropped out of FTL at their destination, The view that greeted them was both terrifying and awe-inspiring. The singularity pulsed and writhed in space, distorting light and matter around it. Even at this distance, they could feel the pull of its immense gravitational field. "My God," someone whispered on the bridge. Chen steeled herself. "All right, everyone. You know your roles. Let's do this." What followed was one of the most intense and precise operations in galactic history. The ships maneuvered into position, fighting against the singularity's pull. At Chen's command, they began firing their modified FTL drives, sending concentrated beams of tachyons into the heart of the anomaly. For several tense minutes, nothing seemed to be happening. The singularity continued to fluctuate wildly, and more than once, a ship had to quickly adjust its position to avoid being torn apart by a sudden gravitational spike. Then, almost imperceptibly at first, the singularity began to stabilize. Its wild pulsations slowed, and its form began to coalesce into a more defined shape. "It's working," Patil shouted, his eyes glued to his instruments. "The quantum state is stabilizing." Chen allowed herself a small smile. "Stay focused. We're not out of this yet." As the operation continued, the strain on the ships and their crews became more apparent. Warning lights flashed on consoles, and the hull of the Curiosity groaned under the immense forces it was being subjected to. Just when it seemed they couldn't hold out any longer, there was a brilliant flash of light. The singularity collapsed in on itself, shrinking to a pinpoint before disappearing entirely. For a moment, there was stunned silence on the bridge of the Curiosity. Then, cheers erupted, not just from the human crew, but from the comm channels linking them to the alien ships as well. "We did it," Chen breathed, hardly daring to believe it. "We actually did it." As the fleet regrouped and began the journey back to the Council station, messages of congratulations and gratitude poured in from across the sector. Word of the successful operation spread quickly, and by the time they docked, they were greeted as heroes. In the aftermath of the crisis, the dynamic between the humans and the Galactic Council shifted dramatically. The success of the joint operation had proven beyond doubt the value of humanity's unconventional approach to problem-solving. Krecha, speaking on behalf of the Council, addressed the assembled crews. "Today, we have witnessed the true power of cooperation. Our new human friends, with their innovative thinking and courageous spirit, have proven themselves worthy allies indeed." Chen, standing with her crew, felt a swell of pride. They had come to the Galactic Council as unknowns, gate-crashers at a cosmic party. Now, they stood as equals, having earned their place among the stars. As the celebration continued around them, Chen turned to her team. "Well, folks, I'd say we've made quite an impression. But something tells me this is just the beginning of our adventures out here." Patel grinned. "You know, Captain, I'm starting to think the galaxy wasn't ready for us." Chen laughed. "Maybe not, but ready or not, humanity's here to stay. And who knows, maybe we'll teach these advanced civilizations a thing or two along the way." As they looked out at the diverse crowd of aliens, now mingling freely with humans and excitedly discussing future collaborations, Chen couldn't help but feel a sense of optimism. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders, and humanity, with its unique blend of creativity, determination, and adaptability, was poised to make its mark on the cosmic stage. The crisis had been averted, but the real adventure was just beginning. Laughter and legacy. In the weeks following the quantum singularity crisis, the Galactic Council station buzzed with an energy it hadn't seen in millennia. The successful joint operation between humans and aliens had sparked a renaissance of sorts, with species from across the galaxy eager to collaborate and share ideas in ways they never had before. Captain Sarah Chen found herself at the center of it all, a reluctant celebrity in a cosmic spotlight. As she made her way through the station's bustling corridors, she couldn't help but smile at the sight of humans and aliens working side by side, their initial awkwardness replaced by genuine camaraderie. "Captain Chen," called out a familiar voice. She turned to see Kreacha approaching, his feathers neatly preened and his eyes bright with excitement. "I hope I'm not interrupting, but there's something I need to discuss with you." Chen nodded, falling into step beside the avian alien. "Of course, Counselor. What's on your mind?" Kreacha led her to a quiet observation deck overlooking the swirling nebula outside the station. "As you know, the Council has been in intense discussions about humanity's role in galactic affairs since your arrival. Recent events have, shall we say, accelerated those discussions considerably." Chen raised an eyebrow. "Oh, and what have you decided?" Kreacha's beak clicked in what Chen had come to recognize as a smile. "We would like to officially offer humanity full membership in the Galactic Council, effective immediately. No probationary period, no restrictions, full voting rights, access to all shared technology, the works." For a moment, Chen was speechless. When they'd first stumbled upon the Council, such an offer would have seemed impossible. Now, after everything that had happened, it felt almost inevitable. "That's quite an honor," she said finally. "But I'm just a starship captain. I don't have the authority to accept on behalf of all humanity." Kreacha waved a wing dismissively. Of course. We understand your species' decision-making process is more distributed than most. We're prepared to send a delegation to Earth to formalize the arrangement. But we wanted you to be the first to know." Chen nodded, her mind racing with the implications. "Thank you, Counselor. I'm sure." Chen nodded, her mind racing with the implications. "Thank you, Counselor. I'm sure Earth's leaders will be very interested in discussing this further. But if I may ask, what prompted this decision?" "Not too long ago, some members of the Council were calling for us to be ejected from your space entirely." Kreacha's feathers ruffled in amusement. "Ah, yes. Well, recent events have made it clear that humanity brings something unique to the galactic community. Your adaptability, your innovative thinking, your willingness to challenge established norms. These are qualities that many of us had forgotten the value of over the eons." He gestured out at the nebula, its swirling colors a testament to the beauty and complexity of the universe. "For too long, the Council has been stagnant, content to maintain the status quo. Your arrival has shaken things up in ways we desperately needed. You've reminded us of the joy of discovery, the thrill of pushing boundaries." Chen smiled, thinking back on the whirlwind of events since their arrival. "We do have a knack for stirring things up, don't we?" "Indeed," Kreacha agreed. "And that's precisely why we need you. The universe is vast and full of wonders, but also dangers. The recent crisis proved that we're stronger together, combining our knowledge and strengths." As if on cue, a commotion from nearby caught their attention. They turned to see Lieutenant Patil engaged in what appeared to be an impromptu dance-off with a group of multi-limbed aliens. The humans were teaching the aliens the Macarena, while the aliens attempted to reciprocate with a ceremonial dance from their homeworld. The result was a hilarious mishmash of flailing limbs and confused rhythms. Chen couldn't help but laugh at the sight. "Well, I suppose cultural exchange comes in many forms." Kreacha joined in the laughter, his trilling sounds blending with Chen's more throaty chuckles. "You see, this is exactly what I mean. In all my years, I've never seen the council chambers filled with so much laughter. Your species has a way of finding joy and humor in the most unexpected places." As they watched the unlikely dance party unfold, Chen reflected on the journey that had brought them here. From accidental gate crashers to saviors of the sector to potential full members of the Galactic Council, it was a path no one could have predicted. "You know," she said thoughtfully, "when we set out on this mission, we hoped to make new discoveries, to expand humanity's understanding of the universe, but I never imagined we'd end up changing the course of galactic history." Kreacha nodded sagely. "The greatest discoveries often come when we least expect them. Your arrival may have been accidental, but its impact will be felt for generations to come." Just then, Chen's comm device buzzed. She glanced at it, and her eyes widened. "Speaking of unexpected, It looks like Earth has finally managed to establish direct communication with us. They're a bit confused about our current situation. Creech's eyes twinkled with amusement. Perhaps we should head to the communication hub. I have a feeling this conversation will be one for the history books. As they made their way through the station, Chen couldn't help but marvel at how quickly things had changed. Aliens who had once regarded humans with suspicion or disdain now greeted them warmly. In various labs and workshops, human and alien scientists worked side by side, their combined knowledge giving birth to innovations that would have been impossible just weeks ago. They arrived at the communication hub to find it already buzzing with activity. The rest of the Curiosity's crew was there, along with a number of council members. On the main screen, the bewildered face of the UN Secretary-General stared out at the assembled group. "Captain Chen," the Secretary-General said, her voice a mix of relief and confusion, "would you kindly explain why I'm currently looking at a room full of, are those aliens?" Chen stepped forward, standing tall. This was a moment that would define humanity's future among the stars. "Madam Secretary, representatives of Earth, I have quite a story to tell you. But before I begin, let me introduce you to some new friends. You see, it all started when we accidentally crashed a meeting of the Galactic Council." As Chen began to recount their adventures, she saw the expressions on the Earth officials' faces change from disbelief to wonder to excitement. She knew that the road ahead would be challenging. Integrating humanity into the galactic community would be no small task. There would be misunderstandings, cultural clashes, and probably more than a few diplomatic incidents. But as she looked around at her crew, at the alien friends they'd made, at the marvels they'd already accomplished together, Chen felt a surge of optimism. Humanity had taken its first real steps into a larger universe, and they had done so not with conquest or fear, but with adaptability, innovation, and yes, a healthy dose of laughter. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was a good thing. As the humans like to say, the party was just getting started. In the years to come, historians would look back on this moment as the beginning of a new era. They would speak of the humans who crashed the Galactic Council, of the laughter that echoed through the cosmic halls, and of the unlikely friendship that changed the fate of countless worlds. But for now, in this moment, Captain Sarah Chen simply smiled as she continued her story, ready to usher in a future filled with endless possibilities, unexpected adventures, and the enduring spirit of humanity reaching for the stars.